Hello, how are you? I hope you're good. Welcome to the annual book awards here on Bookroast. Grab a drink and let's talk about some best of the books that I've read in 2021. I believe this is actually the 6th time I'm doing this, so if you're intrigued as to how the other years have gone, I will link those videos down in the description bar as well if you want to check them out. I have no recollection of how that actually went. This year I'm coming to you with 13 categories, 13 awards, if you will. The list keeps growing every year, bit by bit, and I'm fine with it. I've also introduced a new rule this year, at least for this year. I don't know if it's going to continue, but in the previous years there were books that grabbed quite a few awards because obviously they were my favorites, so it makes sense. But this year I decided to only allow a book per category, so one book cannot grab like all 5. So even if a particular book would maybe fit like the funniest prompt as well as the best sci-fi, you can only actually get one. So we're changing that this year, so I have 13 books that fit the categories, 12 that I really enjoyed, one that was a disappointment, and so much so that it won a disappointment award. Very quickly before we start, I want to thank today's sponsor, and that is Function of Beauty. I thoroughly enjoy their product. I've actually used their product prior to them contacting me. I've been using their product for over a year, consistently as well. They allow you to customize your own little potion for your hair. It might sound a little bit daunting, but it's actually very straightforward. You just go onto their website and you have a quiz to take. You can specify what your natural hair type is. You can set your hair structure and scalp moisture, and then you select up to 5 goals. The ones that I constantly go for is something for hydration. I have replenish hair, thermal protection, anti-frizz, curl definition. As someone who has very curly hair naturally but styles it in both ways, curly and straight, I've always been very picky with the shampoos simply because a lot of them just don't fit my needs. Then we come to the fun part where you actually get to select your colors and fragrance. You can also just skip the color or fragrance if you wish to. And you also get to print something on it, which for me this time was not for Logan because I've realized he's been stealing sneakily my shampoo and conditioner, so no thievery here. Function of Beauty is also dermatologically tested. Every ingredient is tested also by volunteers and never on animals. It's 100% vegan and cruelty-free, and they use no parabens or sulfates. You can also order your set with no silicone. Another thing that's quite nice is that you can subscribe and then you don't have to worry about running out and it just gets delivered to you. If you'd like to give it a go, they have kindly given me a code for you guys to get 20% off of your first set of 16 ounces bottles of shampoo and conditioner. If you decide to become a member, then you also get a lot of benefits as well as free shipping. So again, it's going to be linked in the description bar. Thank you so much to Function of Beauty for working with me again, and let's go back to the main video. The most impactful or emotional read of 2021, for which I have a book by an author that I have started reading in 2021, and it's very quickly shot up into one of my favorite authors. Just realized my water bottle is showing. Which is very exciting, but the book is And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. I'm pretty sure you have heard me talk about this already, but this is actually a book that is extremely short. It is 76 pages long and the pages are half empty. This particular edition also has little illustrations as well, so half of these pages are, well, not half, but a third of these pages are also blank. But this is a generational story following a grandfather, a father, and a son, whilst the grandfather is losing his memory because he has Alzheimer's. It is written in the most beautiful, simple, but poignant and heart-wrenching way. I would literally recommend this book to everyone and their mothers and their fathers. I'm not even the most family-oriented person. It's terrifying. I've known people who watch their parents forget who they are, forget a lot about their lives, and it's just read it. Honestly, just read it. Don't be intimidated as well. Like, I know it sounds really sad and not a fun time, but it's honestly so beautiful and it's such a short read as well, so there's just no downsides to it. For this one, I actually had a couple of candidates, which is always nice because it means I've read some different books this year. I've actually gone with one that is not necessarily considered unique or, it's not quirky, it's not breaking any type of format rules, but I just found it very unique in the way that the story was presented. I really enjoyed it, and it is To Be Thought If Fortunate by Becky Chambers, another one of my favorite authors. This is a novella by them that I've read this year, and it's about a crew that shoots into the universe and visit other planets with life to learn, but very cautiously without disturbing anything, to just observe and learn. And obviously something else happens as well, what I don't want to say, but it was just really beautiful. And it was it was a soft sci-fi, but also done so respectfully, which we don't normally see. We always just like go invade and disrupt and not care about the local ecosystem, and this is like opposite of that. It's just, it was so pure and beautiful. Would 100% again recommend. I probably should stop saying that because a lot of these books are gonna have that. It's probably also gonna be surprising for some of you watching because there's nothing really alarming about it. You're a general reader, there shouldn't be anything really flagging this book. I was very skeptical about this book because it has a lot of things that I at least was and still currently kind of am tired of. So we have royals, an empire that is a selection of islands, and I don't like the water setting as much. Not a rule, but it's not something that I gravitate towards. It has to have other things that are really great for me to like a water setting, which is crazy because I love water in real life. But anyway, it's technically an adult book, but it is definitely one of those bridge books that is between the YA and adult. It definitely read quite YA to me. And that is The Bone Shard Daughter, which was our Read Rate Review, rest in peace, selection, actually nominated, I believe, by Aaron. So thank you, Aaron, for actually making me read this. I flew through this book. It was so quick. I really enjoyed, I think it didn't quite get 5 stars, it got 4, but I really, really enjoyed it. It was somewhat humorous. It was really easy to read. The setting that I actually really liked. It is an Asian-inspired world. I honestly found it such a fast, fun read, and I can very rarely say that about fantasy. The fastest reads that I ever go through are always contemporary, so when I find a fantasy that I just read through very quickly, it surprises me. And obviously this one surprised me because I didn't think I would like it, and then I did. It also has one of the best animal companions that I've ever met. It's just very adorable. Really excited to read the second book. And there are also sci-fi elements. I don't think I've mentioned that. I wouldn't say that it's overwhelmingly sci-fi, but it definitely has some sci-fi elements. And the book that would actually, I think, would have taken this is going to be in another category, and I cannot mention it. But I did also really want to talk about this book because it's another one that was almost winning the surprise category because I read something by this author before and didn't love it, but now I did, and that is A Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. It was so fun. It was traumatic. There's a lot of PTSD elements in the book, but there's also so much of banter in between the characters. We have this kind of found family trio traveling together. They are disbanded guards of the king, and they are very, very not loved by the people. I found this book to be very satisfying, the way that things wrapped up, things, enough dots connected, and it was really fun to see. Absolutely, again, excited to continue with the series, and another favorite. To interrupt this lovely display of awards with the most disappointing read of 2021, I actually had so many to pick from, which is sad. And I think maybe 90% of that were sequels, which of course the disappointment is stemming from me really loving the first book and then being really disappointed by the second one. I don't think any of the other series has done it as much as the Red Rising though, so I'm gonna put The Golden Sun. Again, when I read Red Rising, I was obsessed. I was so into it. Then I read The Golden Sun and I was like, what is happening? What am I missing? Why am I not intrigued by this? What is happening? I don't know what it was, but it's like I saw the story from a completely different perspective. to the point where I lowered the rating to the first book, which almost never happens. And it was very sad. I'm still going to finish this trilogy, at least the first one, to see how I feel about it. But this one just did not hit in the same way that the first one did, which is odd because everyone said that this one's gonna be better. I think it's because we got ourselves out of the restricted section narrative that we were in the first one, I don't want to say. And I think that competition was a major part of why I liked it. And then once we lost that, a lot of 150 pages of this book, we actually don't see the two characters I really enjoyed from the previous book either. So it was disappointing. It was disappointing. This one was a pretty disappointing one because there weren't any that I loved. The closest one, I think, The Maidens, but not this version actually, not the one that I have, but I will put a picture of the one that I'm thinking of. It is just clean, and it gives you that dark academia mystery vibes. I like it. It's simple. It sends a message. Misleading message, but a message. The best contemporary of 2021 would actually, again, be the other Beckman book, but since I couldn't pick that one, I'm gonna go with Anxious People. This is actually going to be available on Netflix as an adaptation soon, which I'm very excited. Maybe it's actually now, which I'm very excited to see. But it's about a bank robber that accidentally takes a bunch of people hostage in a flat viewing. It was just really heartwarming of how people come together and learning about them, and it was very chaotic. It was a very different setting from any other book, and again, Beckman really focuses on people and their experience and their lives. So it's not like an action-packed book by any means, but the audiobook was really great. There was a lot of commentary about how people do things that they are forced to do because the society and the government has failed them. And I thought it was really beautifully done. When you see someone who is presented as a villain to the society shown in a way that you actually can relate to and see where they're coming from, I think that is a book well done. The new category, which I'm hoping to read a bit more in the next year, is Best Romance. But I think the best one that I've read in 2021 was Act Your Age, Evie Brown. I really like this series. This one wasn't my favorite in the series, but I read the other ones in a different year. But it was still really lovely to read. We also have autism representation in here. But we follow Evie, who is the sister to Chloe and Danny. And she is the one that is considered flaky. She can't settle on what she wants to do. She's considered quite spoiled. And we see things from her perspective and why she is struggling as well. This year was terrible for thrillers and mysteries, so this category is quite hard. I've read very few, and then a lot of them were not great. But the one that I've decided to go with is The One. Again, it has a Netflix adaptation. I have watched it, but the adaptation is very different from the book. But this is about a society where you can take a DNA test, and it's like a very upgraded Tinder where you can just find a person that is genetically a soulmate to you. And it gets messy. It gets really messy. It does not go well. And we follow, I think, 5 matches. One of them is the creator. One of them is a serial killer. It's fun. It's fun. Is definitely Die, specifically volume 1. This is again this kind of like Jumanji meets D&D type of situation with a lot of representation as well and beautiful art style, where they go back into this game that they were stuck as kids, and now they come back as adults. Like one of the kids never came back. They have to face all of that. No, the second volume was a bit disappointing. The third one I'm hoping to read soon to see if it gets back on track. But this was amazing. I absolutely loved it when I first read it. Now to a fantasy category, the genre that I read the most of. So obviously there was quite a competition, but the one that actually takes the award for the best fantasy that I've read in 2021, definitely not released in 2021, but it's The Lies of Lamora. I really loved it. This is about a group, again, found family of orphans, bastards that are trained in thievery. So they do it in style. And boy, this was a ride. There were actual consequences. It was beautifully written. The prose in this is like none other that I've read. It's nothing like crazy, but it just reads smooth like butter. It's just beautiful. I really enjoyed it. Love the humor as well. This would have also qualified for the humor category, absolutely, but I wanted to put it here. I know this is also not a finished series and we don't know when we're gonna get the conclusion, so it's a bit of a bummer, but I still would recommend just for the first one. I don't even know when I'm gonna get to the second one because that one is set on the sea setting again and it just doesn't call to me. But this one was amazing. It was such a journey. It was really lovely. I enjoyed myself a lot. Going from my most read genre to my favorite genre, which is a sci-fi, I think those two really overlap, but technically this is classed as a sci-fi, so I'm gonna use that to my advantage and include the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. Love this book to pieces. The second one disappointed me a little bit just because of how good the first one was, and the second one didn't feel to really measure up, which is a common thing people say, so I don't think it's just me. But this is beautiful, and we follow a couple of perspectives and everything comes together at the end. The main character that we follow has this power to control seismic activity basically, and people really dislike people who have that ability, and she is a grieving mother in pursuit of her lost daughter who she still hopes to save. I really don't want to say anything else. It is pretty grim. It's not a fun read per se, but it was beautiful. I was hooked from the first chapter, and again, that is something that very rarely happens. Boy, do I struggle with beginnings of books. Currently trying to get into the Shadow of the Gods and struggle. So whenever I get into a book from the very get-go, that is amazing. And then the last but the most important category arguably is the best read of 2021. I think a lot of you will probably guess this, but Project Hail Mary. Looking back, I actually had quite a few books that I wouldn't mind putting into this category, so good stuff. That's always a good sign. But the Project Hail Mary, it just had everything I love. It's a sci-fi that does go into quite detailed sci-fi bits, but I'm still adamant that you can just listen to an audiobook and still not be lost at what's happening at all. This has first contact. This approaches first contact the way that I personally prefer and love. We get to learn about what we speculate other life could be, and it felt like it was well thought out, so it felt believable in the most bizarre way. We have some really messed up moral situation happening as well. We have amazing humor. I've loved this more than I like The Martian. I really like The Martians, but this one is just 100% to me the best of his work. Artemis was just not it. The Martian was really fun, but this had everything. I loved it. I know not everyone did, and that's fine. But I'm not gonna even hear about it because to me this was damn near perfect. Obviously there were a couple of bits that were like but if you can also read and listen to it, the way that the first contact is narrated is just so, oh man, I would die for that character. I would just straight up lay down and give my life for that character. I just love it so much. It just brought me so much joy. It was intriguing, it was funny, it was beautiful. And again, it's all about human experience, human ways. We poke fun at human ways through that first contact, noticing things. I think my last year overall was The Humans, which basically is an alien impersonating a person and making fun of people doing stupid stuff. And that is basically a big theme in this. So I clearly have a thing for that. If you have any books that have that kind of thing going on, please let me know, because I think I would enjoy those books and I want to give them a go. But that actually concludes my personal awards of books I read in 2021. I hope you got a recommendation from this that you could also go and check out. If you did, let me know which one you would like to see. Absolutely tell me what was your best overall book, because I might make a video of that later this year, maybe a secret TBR, who knows. But yeah, thank you so much, stay awesome, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!